All right, sound check, testing.
Hello.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Somebody will offer you $3 billion, but you can't touch another drink ever again. And I was like, damn, that's tough.
I would do it. Oh yeah, I would do
Yeah.
it.
$3 million? Yeah. Right.
Yep. I'll find other things. All right. Is this on camera? I'll cut it all. All right. That helps me with some.
Wow, okay. Let's go.
Welcome to Tuesdays with Andrea. It's the inspiration station for everyday people guiding humanity forward. Welcome to the Tuesdays with Andrea podcast. I'm your host, Andrea, and I am so happy to be kicking off season 4. Thank you so much to those who have reached out, who are asking, when am I going to have a new episode? Well, guess what? We have a new episode, and we are starting back up again. Thank you for subscribing, for supporting the YouTube channel, for watching and sharing videos online, for listening on iTunes. I really appreciate your support, and I offer these conversations up because I believe that we're all teachers, we're all leaders, and we all have a story, and we all have inspiration and nuggets to share, wisdom and lessons learned that can help the next person along the way. I call these guests nightlights, people who shine in the dark, guiding humanity forward. And so without further ado, I'm happy to kick off this season, and let's welcome today's special guest, Abbey Tiu Kemp. I'm honored to welcome her. She's a remarkable woman whose journey weaves together love, resilience, and an enduring commitment to family and community. She's known to many as Abbey Tiu Kemp, and she's a trailblazer in multiple realms. Abbey is a skilled, licensed clinical professional counselor, owner of a mental health practice in Plainfield called Wounded Healers Counseling Service, and she is a culinary visionary. She's owner of Leilani Asian Fusion, which is a restaurant here in Aurora, and she's created a chef-driven experience that beautifully blends Filipino and Pan-Asian flavors, honoring both heritage and innovation. Abbey is continuing the legacy of her late partner, Jason Morales, who was the owner of the restaurant group Mora Asian Fusion, located in Bolingbrook, Plainfield, and Oak Park. Jason was a gifted restaurateur and advocate for Aurora's revitalization, and left behind a powerful story that Abbey has carried forward with love and determination. The restaurant Leilani is more than just a dining destination. It's a tribute to a mother's love for her daughter and a testament to the dreams of a father who believed in the power of community. Beyond her contributions to mental health and hospitality, Abbey's dedication to service is evident. She recently received the prestigious Accomplished Alumni Award at the Build Chicago Gala, where her story of perseverance and leadership inspired many. It's a privilege to share Abbey's journey with you today, a story of hope, healing, and creating something beautiful out of life's hardest moments. Let's dive in.
That was straight to the heart. Oh.
Abbey, welcome.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you. That was, wow, what a meaningful introduction.
So how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Oh, how am I doing? That's a loaded gun. I think all in all, I'm doing great. I've been, blessed to be able to honor love of my life, to honor my daughter, and to kind of contribute to society and humanity in general. So in that sense, I feel good. But in other sense, right, it's a struggle. So, there's the ups and downs.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, there's still the uncomfortability of life.
Always. But you're equipped to deal with it. I mean, you own your own mental health practice called Wounded
Healers Counseling Service. Yes.
So let's just start there. Let's talk about why are you driven to want to offer healing and health to others?
I think I've always wanted to understand people and heal them from the inside. And so, when I was younger, I watched a lot of people around me. I was just observant, and there was a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, and I was so empathetic to people, and so didn't really know where life would take me. But here we are, fast forward, and I'm in the counseling field, and I'm so passionate, and I love it, and I feel so at home in it. I think part of it is also healing myself, right? Because there's always that struggle in each of our families, and my sister and my brother struggled with addiction, and I watched that when I was a little girl, and I just kind of wanted to understand how to help in many aspects. So counseling became a passion.
Are you from here? Did you grow up? What's your background, ethnicity? Tell us a little bit about.
So I was born and raised in the Philippines. So I ran around in the fields, rice fields, in the ocean, and so I had a pretty awesome childhood. And then I traveled to the U.S. when I was 11 with my entire family, and my biggest memory was that my entire community actually like gathered together on the day that we left, and they all waved bye to my family. Like I just like this movie, right? I'm in this car, I'm looking back, and my whole town is saying bye to us.
Wow.
And I didn't understand where I was going. I thought Philippines was the entire world. Now
Are
I'm
you
going
sad?
sad and excited. Also, I just like I was 11. I don't think I really grasped what was
You're like,
happening.
"Hi."
Yeah, okay, bye guys. Yes.
And then you came to the U.S. Was it a culture shock?
It was definitely a culture shock, and I think that's when my brother and sister kind of like lost their way and kind of like looked into unhealthy places, because it was like we would eat breakfast and dinner in the Philippines as a family together. We would take naps during lunchtime, and it was just such an easygoing life. And then you come here, and everyone's so separated and isolated, and so we didn't eat breakfast anymore together. We didn't eat dinner anymore together, and there was tension in the house, and we weren't. It didn't seem like we were family anymore.
And then how did fast forward to when? When do you want to pick back up?
Oh, sure. There's a lot that happened in between. Okay, so in that, I also got lost. Like my sister, and my brother got lost. I got lost, and I was kind of
lost.
I'll tell you, and this is things I usually don't talk about. So, I was looking for that family belongingness, and it wasn't within my family. So then I got involved with gangs.
No.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. So I was a gang member at some point in my life. While I was in high school.
Do you want to share what gang?
So I was a Latin queen.
No way. A Latin queen?
Yes.
I kind of looked up to them when I was younger. But I was too scared to do the initiation.
Oh my God.
I just didn't have it in me.
I don't know what got into me. One day I was like, you know what? Why not? And I'll tell you, I have an older sister. She's 1 year older than me. And she heard like through, I was in high school, and they initiated me in the girls' bathroom in high school. Like, and if you guys don't know what that entails, it's literally you against the wall, getting beat up by like 5 girls, and you can't hit back. And you just kind of try to cover yourself the best that you can. And they just go at it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So then my sister heard, and she was like, "You idiot."
Yeah.
Like, what stupid Abbey,
Uh-huh.
And then she's like, "Now I'm going to have to join just to keep my eye on you." And so my sister also joined. She's now, and she went to the Marines, and then she became a hero. She's always my hero, but she became, the United States hero.
This is love when your sister joins a gang to protect you.
Yes. She just
I
knew.
wouldn't do it, Ellie. I have a twin sister. Nope.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah. So, that's how I was like, that's how he affected me, the transition.
Yeah.
Is that I lost my belongingness to my family, and so I looked for it elsewhere. And and it was kind of in the beginning, it was a lot of love, a lot of belongingness, a lot of friendship, a lot of hanging out, and then the dark side kind of showed up, and there was a lot of violence, and there was a lot of bad things with guns and drugs and all of this, and then that's when I started to feel uncomfortable. And getting out of that is kind of hard, but I was blessed, and that's when I got involved with Build, and they kind of mentored me, and they kind of assisted in helping me get out of the gang. And
Really?
yes.
How did you get in? Okay, first let's go back to wanting to belong. Everybody at that age, you're in your teens probably.
Yes.
That's what you want. Is a
15,
community.
16, yeah.
Some people join sports. Some people join clubs.
Exactly.
Some people join gangs like that. But as a youth, you're searching.
Yeah, you're searching.
Where do you find love and acceptance and
Where do
belonging?
you belong? Yes.
Yeah. And so then you're realizing this isn't for me. I don't have a future here. And build. What is build? Is it an acronym?
Yes, it's a long acronym, but it generally, it's a nonprofit organization in Chicago, and they actually utilize a lot of older gang members as mentors for these youths that are, in high school that have potential, that that need to get out of that lifestyle, and they utilize their reputation, the older gang members, to kind of mentor them and then help them get out of that situation. And so they also provided a lot of outlets, so sports, community, and just like hanging out, arts, like they provided music and just outlets in different areas, as opposed to going and doing gang-related activities.
Right. So you had like wraparound services, community support, activities, recreation, probably. And from there, you just started getting involved. You found leaders that you looked up to, and you're like, hey, I see a different future here.
Yes. It was mainly like, there was the one thing that I say would be powerful in that program is that there was no judgment, right? These people weren't coming in and saying, hey, you made the wrong choice, or hey, I was really bad, you're a really bad child. They weren't doing that. They were saying, hey, we understand. We've been there, and so, however way we can help, we will help. And how are you feeling? Are you feeling safe, right? And I'm like, well, I was, but I'm not feeling safe anymore, and I don't know how to get out of this. And they're like, okay, well, let's figure that out. We're here.
Was the gang, what was their reaction when you wanted to get out?
Build came in, and those mentors kind of like protected me and became
Really?
my wall. And I actually transferred to a different high school just to
Get away.
yeah, but that had ramifications too, because then there's rival gangs
Oh, shit.
that like I ended up transferring to a school that was predominantly my rival gang. And so then I was still living, in kind of an unsafe world.
Yeah.
And so I actually dropped out of high school.
No.
Dropped out of high school, got my GED.
Well, and it worked for you.
Like everyone's path is different.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that because you don't have to do the traditional route.
Yeah.
And in this situation, yours is a unique situation, but I think everybody has unique situations. I really do.
Yes.
And you get to forge your own path and make it work for you. And there's so much to environment, like where you are, who is surrounding you. In this case, you dropped out or from your first school because you wanted a better life. But then in the second one, you're literally surrounded by the enemy. And you have to protect yourself. Were you scared? What did your parents say about this?
Oh my God. I think they were just like
Did they know that you and your sister were in the gang? And did your sister drop out too?
Well, she graduated. She was persistent. She wasn't as out there as I was. She was just in it to protect me.
Yeah.
And so she was in a safe place.
Okay.
Kept her profile low,
Yeah.
But she ended up graduating and went straight to the Marines after.
Okay.
So she worked out.
Yeah. Okay. And then so you dropped out.
I
At
dropped
this
out.
point, how old are you?
Probably 18. So it was my senior high school. I dropped out.
Dang,
I
you're
know.
almost there.
I know.
Do you feel like a failure? Do you feel like a quitter?
No, not really. Like I didn't feel any of that at all because I knew why I was doing it.
Yeah.
Right? For me, it was the safety part.
Yeah. You're making progress.
Yeah.
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 And then what do you do after you drop out?
Work odd-end jobs. I got certified as a, certified nursing assistant. My mom had a home, what do they call it? Home nursing.
Like a home nurse type
Yeah,
of thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Company, so I dabbled in that for a little bit, but I was like, I feel like I'm meant for something so much more than this, you know? I worked at Kohl's. I was a bill collector at some point. I was a pharmacy tech at some point. I mean, I went all around everywhere. And then I worked in hospitality at hotels and kind of like rose in that rank.
What was that inside of you that even then you were like, I'm meant for something else?
Yeah. I don't know.
But you knew it.
I knew. I was like, this is something I'm supposed to do, something more grand, you know, or like much more challenging than this.
Yeah.
And so I just kept going.
And then so you keep going, you're working. And then what happens?
So I was in a hospitality for a little bit. Gosh, life is crazy. And then, you know, I rose through the ranks, became like the front desk supervisor, opened up a hotel in O'Hare called Intercontinental.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really fancy place. And I was part of the opening team. And so I got to hang out with a lot of the directors and all this, right? And so that's where I met my ex-husband. He was the director of the engineering department. And so, you know,
So you're dating the
like,
boss.
we're going at it. And, and so then, you know, like it turns into a really serious relationship. We move in together. We talk about a future. But there was a lot of unhealthiness in that too. So, you know, like, yeah, I don't verbal abuse, you know, and
But what is this?
some physical
What is-
abuse. That's me soothing myself. That's me soothing myself, like, oh, you know,
Also,
like,
whenever I need soothing.
like I soothe myself in that way, like,
Aw.
yeah. So, just. But I thought I was in love, you know, and then we had a baby and, you know, so there was like some good parts, right? Like,
Of course.
I was a stay-at-home mom for the first few years of my son. So that's the biggest gift he could have ever given me.
Yeah.
But in between, it was like he would talk down to me and he would belittle me and he would financially, like, block me, like take my car keys, block me out of accounts, you know, and all of this when we get into arguments. And so, like, at some point I knew, and I'm like, I need to go back to school. I need to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. I cannot depend on this man, you know, for my well-being. And so I went back to school and he would criticize me and he like didn't support it at all. Like sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't, you know, like it's like, I bought you that laptop and it's like stuff like that. And it's like,
and you're young though, right?
I'm
How old are
I'm
you?
young and he was 10 years older than me. So I was 23 when I met him. Went back to school in 2010. I was probably, I'm 85. I don't know what that is, like 25 then.
Okay.
I was probably
but still,
25.
you're like pretty young.
Pretty young.
He's older than you, but you're still like, was this his first marriage?
It was his second marriage.
His second. Okay. So,
And so he already had a son, and I was taking care of, you know, raising his son. And then I had my baby afterwards when I was 27.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
With him.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys had a kid together, son.
Yes, his name is Ethan,
Aww.
and he's the love of my life. He's so he's okay. So my ex-husband is German, and my son is like identical, like more Filipino than me. Like it's so bad. I'm like, there's no white in you.
But there is.
There is, but there
That's
isn't.
a good
Like,
thing. It's
yeah.
not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's just he's so handsome.
But at the time you were in a troubled marriage.
I was
and
in a
you're
troubled
in a difficult
marriage.
spot, and
I
you're
was.
young, and you're a new mom.
Yes,
First time mom.
yes.
That's tough.
Again,
and you're
like-
a stay-at-home mom, so you kind of like
Yes.
lose this whole time you're working.
Mm-hmm.
You are out working. You have your own identity. When you become a stay-at-home mom and you have your kid,
Yeah.
you literally give up
Yes.
that part.
Yes,
It's like,
yes.
who am I?
Yeah. And in that transition, it was like I wasn't enough. It didn't matter what I was doing. It was just not enough. I wasn't paying attention enough. I wasn't cleaning enough. I wasn't like, it was just never enough. And so I knew I needed to get out of that situation. And so I was like, I got to find a way. put myself back to school, persevered, and actually enjoyed my academic journey. I love learning.
Yeah.
So who would have thought drop out of high school, right?
It's like it makes for a great story.
Yeah.
Look, and so then what did you go back to school for?
Psychology. I always knew I wanted to do psychology. At first, I wanted to like travel the world before I had my baby. I'm like, travel the world, work with Fortune 500 companies, do industrial psychology, where you just all these grand ideas in my head. But then I had my baby. I'm like, okay, well, now I got to change this.
Scale it down a
Yeah,
little
scale
bit.
it down a little bit. And then I thought about school psychology so that I could have the same schedule as him and, like catered my whole life to him. But then I did like an internship or where you shadow somebody,
Yeah.
a school psychologist at Nequa Valley, actually.
Really?
Yes, I shadowed somebody in Nequa Valley, and all they did was documentation. They sat in this office, and I was like, no, that's not my life. Yeah, I can't do that. I'm a people person,
I can't do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is why I actually work like those internships, work-based learning opportunities are really helpful because it gives people an idea of what the job is beforehand. And so then you get an opportunity to see, do I like this? Do I not like this? It helps youth make good decisions. Oh, at least an informed decision.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So then you're like, nope, that's not for me.
That is not for me, And then there was a program. It was a mental health program, and so I was like, that's what I want to do, And I started taking classes, and I fell in love with it, and it's one-on-one, and then I did my internship at a location in North Aurora, actually called Taking Control. And they hired me on after that. And it's funny because when I interviewed as an intern with the practice owner, he's probably like, yeah, that's Abbey. He was like, so what are your plans? I'm like, well, I'm going to open my own practice. Give me like a few years, And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And he just laughed because he's like, I've never had an intern tell me they're
gonna be my rival, my competitor.
Yeah, pretty much. But he didn't see it that way. He was kind of actually encouraging me. He was like, that's a great idea. I think Plainfield is a good location. I mean, we talked about the location even, and he said Plainfield would be a good location.
Are you guys still friends?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Dr. Jim Jorgensen. Shout out. Yes.
So then you told him, hey, I want to own my own
Practice.
mental
yeah.
health practice. And you did it.
And I did it.
That's crazy. Like, wow. Okay, wait, hold on. Before we go back,
Yeah.
are you so proud of yourself? Do you like pinch yourself? Like,
Sometimes I am like, what the hell? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Yeah. I'm like, how did I even do this? But it was just one step at a time and just feeling motivated inside and inspired.
and I think that's really important for anyone listening who is at the earlier stages. And the earlier doesn't mean young, right? You could be 40. I'm 40. And I feel like I am still trying to figure out life. Like, where do I go? What do I do?
Absolutely.
And for anyone who is in a similar position of like, oh, I don't know, but I do know there's something else out there for me. And I just don't know what it looks like yet.
Right.
To me, those are the pieces that really matter is when you're like in the thick of it, because when you're in the weeds, you can't see clearly.
Right.
But other people, when you look at your journey or other people's journey, like this is helpful because you just see what did she do that was so helpful for her. She stayed focused. She
Kept going.
She
just kept
going.
going. Yes.
She just didn't stop.
Yes.
Okay.
I will add on to what you were saying, right? Because I feel like all of those like detours and odd end jobs that I had kind of like, developed me and prepared me. So like being in a gang, I think it gave me like a bigger toughness, absolutely, assertiveness, and like this.
I ain't messing with you.
Yeah, like this fight personality that I have inside of me that comes out every now and then to certain people. But also like a bigger perspective of the world. Like I saw, the poverty and like the lifestyle and like the beauty in that community as well, because there is a lot of belongingness and a lot of love and a lot of protection for each other. So loyalty, I would say loyalty right? So I learned a lot of loyalty in different communities. As a pharmacy tech, right? Medication, like I learned about medication and like treating and how to talk to patients and clients. Being a bill collector, yeah, like if people are angry, right? Like how to navigate those conversations, right? So in counseling, like it just comes, all these odd end jobs help me become a better therapist that I am now.
Wow. Okay, so then you were in therapy, or you built your practice. Did you build your practice based off of that internship and just building a client base? How did the progression happen from there?
So I always knew I was gonna open my own practice, and Jason was actually kind of in the midst of that with me. Like he was.
So were you together at this point?
Yeah, we were
divorced.
together.
So
they were divorced.
So you got
yeah.
divorced. Was that hard on you, or were you like, I'm good because I left something that wasn't great for me?
Oh, it was so hard. It was so hard financially and like just tension, right? And emotionally and mentally, it was draining.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Emotionally and mentally. Like, I mean, this is the kind of guy that was like, I'm going to crush you. And like, I'm going to hire like a table full of lawyers. And what are you going to do? You have nothing, right? And you have no money. You have no way out. How are you going to support yourself? And he was all right? That fed into my fear. But I was like, no, fuck that.
Yeah, because he had power.
Yeah.
And but you were like, no, no.
Yeah, nope. I knew, I'm like, this is unhealthy for me. Like, this environment is unhealthy for me. It's unhealthy for my kids. It's unhealthy for my son. Like, it's tough, right? This is the battle when it comes to unhealthy or toxic relationships, because there are some good parts and then there's bad parts, and then you rationalize, the bad.
Yeah.
Because even now, I'm like, he's a good person, even though all these things happened, and he did all these stuff, right? Like he's good to my son, and
sure, he's a great father.
Tried. I know he loved me, but he just didn't know how to love me properly. And so that's the part, because I see the brokenness, right? And there's nothing I can do. But I can't suffer in your brokenness.
Right.
So at least I had that insight, I guess, through my schooling, that I'm like, this is not it. This is not healthy.
I love the word that you use there, even though. Even though. Like, okay, maybe he's not the best husband to you, but even though he's still a good father, probably to your son, he's still a good man. But even though he wasn't the best husband to you, he wasn't good to you.
Right.
And you felt that, you knew that, and you had the ability to get out of it. A lot of women don't. A lot of women never get out of that.
Well, here's the thing, because I counsel a lot of
and
women.
Men.
And men too.
Yeah.
I counsel a lot of women that are kind of in a similar situation, and it's like, I didn't have anything. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't have a job. I was still in school. It was my last year of graduation. It was my graduation year.
Wow.
And my life was going to be blown into pieces, right? But I had to do it, because it was like, it's either I do it or I don't do it. And it just was becoming unbearable. But that's the thing, like, trust. I think the advice I could say is trust. Trust that I trust in God. Trust that God is going to provide some way, shape, or form, because I ended up living in a bigger house than him. Like, I don't even know how that happened, but like, my house was a mansion compared to his. And he was probably pissed over that. Like, I don't know. So, and then, the kids were happier. I was able to keep them in the same schools. Like, everything just worked out.
Yeah. But then when you're going through it, you don't see how it's going to happen.
Yeah, no.
And this is what makes a lot of people stay stuck. And it feels stuck at times if you're in a relationship or in a job that you don't like, but in a position in which you feel like you don't have as much power or the ability to get yourself into a better position. Is there anything else that you would say, okay, so it was faith in God, but did use
your resources, right? So I have my little sister, she's like 11 years younger than me, she kind of helped transition. Like she was working, I was working, and then there's, my high school coach actually is like my second parent. So they kind of stepped in and provided resources as well. And like I needed clothes. Like she would just donate some clothes to my kids. Like I started really low after that divorce. I had nothing, and so like she would bring some food over, like whatever I needed, she would, like I got you. So use your resources. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's a struggle.
That's a hard one.
That's a hard
Because now you got
one.
to tell people,
Yes.
I need help.
Yes. Oh.
And I'm like, you got to put yourself vulnerable.
Yes. So ask for help. Don't put a negative connotation to that. Everyone needs help. I needed help. And so I asked for help. And the help came, right? So you're not going to receive what you need and want if you don't ask. I asked God, I'm like, please help, and so it all worked out.
Okay. So then you got out of that marriage. You're you're divorced. You're moving on. You're a single mom. Your son, one son.
Yeah.
And what do you do after that?
Dude, I don't have just one son. So within my marriage, and part of why our marriage kind of fell apart is that I took in 4 of my nieces.
Oh.
So I have guardianship of 4 of my nieces, and it's funny because it was like he convinced me to do it. He was like, "Oh, I think it's time for us to do that," and I loved him for that. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, what a what a kind man." But then, like once that happened, and kids they make a mess. It's chaos. It's
They're
loud.
expensive.
Yeah, all this, and he I didn't like how he was treating them, and so that was part of the reason why I knew I needed help, not for myself really, but for the kids. Like I wanted them to be healthy, to be treated well, and to be okay. And so so I had 5 children. I now have 7.
Okay. Wait, I know Leilani.
So 2 biological. So there's my son and Leilani. I have 4 nieces that I took guardianship of, and then my other niece, she's from New York. She came to visit for a summer, and then she was like, can I just stay here
Forever?
and finish my high school here? And I was like, let's ask your mom. Like I'm okay with it, but let's ask your mom. And mom was struggling with it. My sister, who's my hero, the Marine, and she's like, well, if that's what she wants, I'm fine with it. It might be healthier for her because I know she was kind of struggling in school over there. And sure enough, like now she's like straight A's and living the life.
Okay, so you're a single mom at the time of 5 kids?
Yeah.
And then you meet Jason.
And meet Jason. Yes.
And how do you guys meet? And is this still mental health world?
The restaurant, right? So like I'm a foodie.
Okay. Yeah.
But I actually was friends with his sister at first.
Okay.
And so we would hang out all the time. We became very close friends. And then at some point Jason came in the picture, and he was going through some marriage issues as well. And so we kind of bonded over that. And I actually remember giving him advice like, you should appreciate your wife more. Like maybe she just needs your attention, stuff like that, And he was like living in hotels, and I was like, you should go home, all this.
Yeah.
And so that's how we started. Just like through his sister, we became friends, and then we kind of went through a hard time together, and just really bonded and fell in love with each other. Yeah.
And then, okay, when does Mora? So Mora's already happening?
Yeah, he was already building. So we met in Plainfield, Mora, and then he did Bolingbrook, and then he already built Oak Park.
Okay.
And so, but I became friends with him as he was opening Bolingbrook. So I was part of the, that whole process, and then I was there for the grand opening of Oak Park, and we just,
Okay. And then you had Leilani at some point.
Leilani, yes.
And
Leilani.
walk us through this. Like, okay, you meet Jason. He's the love of your life. He's in this restaurant world.
I'm in mental health,
you're still in
right?
mental
Yeah.
health.
And so like he was like, babe, I think Aurora is like, I've had my eyes set on Aurora for quite some time. Like, it's a great community. I really want to be involved. Like, I think we should build there. And I said, okay, and I was like, well, that's cool because my practice that I was interning at was in North Aurora. And so, I was in the process with him when he went to the city council and proposed and like got the approval, all of that. We went through that all together, the planning, the building, all of that. We were together. And so, in the midst of that, I got pregnant,
Yeah.
and we were like, so what are we going to do? And marriage was one of our conversation, but I was like, well, I have a really bad taste in my mouth when it comes to marriage. I don't know if I want to ever do that again. And he was like, of course, we're going to get married at some point. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not ready right now. And I said, but I do want to have this baby with you. And, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. This is our chance. And I said, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah. So we had, and we have two babies. We had the restaurant that we were building, and then this baby that's growing inside my belly.
And then your son and your nieces at that point, was he accepting? He was
Oh
like,
yeah,
totally
he was like, my kids were so in love with him. Jason taught my son how to swim, and so like my kids were hit really, really hard when he passed away, because he was like the male figure.
Yeah,
He
was their dad.
Yeah. That he was so kind, and he just, like I think I took my son out we do a mother and son trip, and we go somewhere different, and we stay there and just bond because like the divorce.
Yeah.
And he stayed with my nieces, and he would take them out to eat, and like he would send pictures, and like where we were at, we went to Drury Lane, we went to go see a show, and we had this whole buffet, and the kids, like he was so good to them.
That's awesome to
Yeah.
hear. Okay, so you guys have your baby. You guys, did you open? When did he pass, and how did this happen? And
So Leilani this is where it all like collided, like everything all happened at once. So Leilani was 3 months old. We were at the midst of like finishing Mora on the river. I don't know if you knew about that one.
no.
So we actually opened Mora on the river, and it was an outdoor patio in downtown Aurora. And it was a huge hit. Like, and it was in the process of us building. So he had a deal with the city that if he developed and built a Mora, they would give him that building for $1, but they weren't going to give him the title until he opened the doors. Right? So we had to build an elevator shaft. We had to like ripped walls. I mean, it was like a big project, and it was during COVID, so there was like no workers. I mean, we would
You're
literally be
doing
there
it.
hammering and like knocking walls down and taking garbage out and like doing all this just to kill time because I mean,
Yeah.
we really wanted to make it happen, and so we were to the finish line, and that happened to him, and then the deal was like shut down, and I was grieving, and
What happened to him?
so he caught COVID. Yeah, but there was like a lot more than that. And so he went to the hospital, and he wasn't intubated until like 9 days later. But in the midst of that, he had his sister as power of attorney. She's a nurse, and I was close to her. And so that happened. So we were like going back and forth and making sure like he was being treated well and all of that. And then his ex-wife kind of said, "Hey, do you mind if I get access just to get updates on how he's doing?" And I said, "Of course." Like, and I told him, I said, "Give her access. Your kids." He had 2 daughters that were in college. They lived in California. And then, that happened, and like all the shit show just happened. Like the families were attacking me because I was just trying to like figure out how to help him, and I was sending, like I wanted everything possible to like contacted a separate doctor. What was his name? Because he had like intervened in Naperville Edwards and kind of gave like the ivermectin or
Yeah.
like a completely different medication that the hospitals were giving, and then this old man kind of walked out and got out of there. And so I was like, I want to do everything possible to save him. And they blocked everything and like pulled his life resources. And so like I actually went to court to get guardianship of his body so I could protect it because he was under, right? But it's like they took over on a Friday. And so it was like all weekend. I couldn't go to court until Monday. So Monday came, went straight to court, got guardianship of his body, went to the hospital, and they said it's too late. He only has 2 hours to live. And even then I was like, this is crazy. Like, how is this happening? Because he was just doing fine. And again, everyone's trying to convince me to just let him go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
So I don't know, was it COVID or was it like something else?
does that
You know?
stay with you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think like the first year I was kind of really hurt and bitter and angry, but then I would hear his voice and he'd be like, "Let it go, babe. Just let it go."
Did a part of you feel like this didn't have to happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this shouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm. I'll have all these other stories of COVID survivors, right? What like they go through and they stay in the hospital for months on end, and they're in all kinds of machines, right? And they get out of it.
Yeah.
They get out of it and they walk out. Yes, there's rehabilitation. Yes, it's going to be difficult, but they get out of it. You know,
But then some don't.
some don't.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a chance to like choose that for him.
Did you get a chance to say goodbye?
I did.
And your
then-
kids?
Yeah. So, yeah, Leilani, no, the kids were not allowed. Yeah. And throughout that process, we were kind of locked out, right? Like you couldn't visit him while he was in the hospital. So he would text me. He's like, "Babe, I'm hungry." And
You can't.
know, I couldn't be there to tend to him. You know, like I think, again, there was just so many things that were against his process of healing. And I will go back to what's supposed to happen, I guess, will happen because everything that happened was something was out of my control. If I could have been there, I would have been there and I would have taken better care of him, but I couldn't be there.
Right.
And then all these things afterwards with the family, it's like, who would have thought, like, you know,
Yeah.
and how could I have fought them? I did fight them. And so I know deep down in my heart, I did everything I could. I was losing my mind. I had a baby that was 3 months old, you know, and I was still healing physically. And,
Yeah.
and also, this is the crazy part, I was scheduled to take my licensing exam to be in this higher level so I could own my practice and I could supervise other therapists. So I was scheduled to take that in January, and that is when he was in the hospital. And so like I didn't get a chance to study. I was like out of my mind.
Yeah.
And I was literally in the hospital the night or the hotel the night before I was supposed to take the exam because he was supposed to be there with me. We planned it out. You know, we were going to celebrate afterwards because we just assumed I was going to pass. But I cried the entire night. I cried myself to sleep. And I wore his shirt. And I wore his shirt when I took the exam. And I was like, I'm going to do this, babe. We're going to do this. And we're going to celebrate when you get out of the hospital. You know, like that was my thing. Yeah. And so like I did. I took, like, didn't get a chance to study.
You passed?
I freaking passed.
What?
I freaking passed.
Why am I like so shy? You passed?
I passed. I passed. I was like, no
Amidst
shit.
all of that.
Yes. Like, oh my God, it was insane. And again, like I go back to the universe, you know, like if it's meant to be, it will be. Because there's no way, right? Like that, no amount of intelligence, like that's, like it was meant to be.
So you have a 3-month-old. Your love of your life partner just passed away from COVID under surprising and uncontrollable circumstances. You're testing to go to the next phase professionally. You pass, but you're grieving. And
Yes.
you're going through court turmoil,
Mm-hmm.
ownership battles
Mhm.
of legality.
Yes. With the city of Aurora, with his family, with all the other businesses.
And you just lost your best friend.
I just lost my best friend.
How do you feel in that? Like, do you feel alone? Do you feel like God left you? Do you feel like this is unfair, or do you feel like, you know what, what's meant to be is meant to be? And
You know, surprisingly enough, I didn't feel so alone. There were so many people reaching out and was like there with me, you know, like my second parents, that was my high school coach, my sister, my family, they were all there, right? Like um Annie Williams, she's from Aurora. She's a dance instructor. She was like calling me. Delia, that was like one of our customers at Mora. She was just like, "What do you need? Like, talk to this doctor." Like the entire time.
Delia
I felt,
who?
Blasso.
Oh.
So she's just a customer.
My mom's name is Delia.
Oh, really?
Don't tell me it's my mom.
That's so funny. Her last name is Blasso, and she was just a regular customer at Mora Plainfield, and we bonded. And so she was like following the whole situation with me. And if I needed something, she was there. You know, Karina Garcia, like she was like, yeah, I think she was probably the most influential because I was grieving. I was not like had a hard time getting out of bed, and she was gently saying to me, "Abby, what are you gonna do about Aurora?" Because I was like, I didn't want to fight. I was so drained fighting everyone, you know. She was like, "What are you gonna do about Aurora?" I'm like, like, what can I do? I don't know what to do, you know. She's like, "Well, I think the community still wants you to come. So I think you need to do something now sooner than later because I know you're grieving." And then she's like, "I know you're grieving. I know you're hurting. And this must be really, really hard for you." But she was like, "But I just don't want you to miss out on an opportunity, you know? And I know that you're lost right now, but talk to Harish and Jay." That's what she said. "Talk to Harish and Jay and see what you can do." And I was like, fine. Fine. Like, okay. I got up, put some joggers on, met some people, and like I think it was Society 57. I met Harish there, and we kind of talked about it. And he's like, "Yeah, like we can make this work, Abby. We got you."
And did you feel that?
I did.
And what made you move forward? Like, okay, I took the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
What made you make the next step?
Well, one, it was Jason and I's dream, right? Like it was a big part of us to bring Mora to Aurora. And so I wanted to make that happen for him, And part of it too was I was having this legal battles with his family for the Mora group that I was like, if that doesn't end up the way I expect it to, I want my daughter to have something that's her dad's. And I want her to know who he is and what he was capable of. And so if I let this go, she's never going to know that. And so, yeah. And I was like, he always joked with me because he wanted to name a restaurant after me. And I was like, no, that's so, ugh, I was like, well, this is a great opportunity to name it after our daughter, And I think, and I was like, I knew he would be so happy. He would be so happy. And sure enough, I think he's been a part of it. Like he's been here with me. I feel like he's blessing us in so many ways because this was all for love.
When you talk to your daughter about him, what do you tell her?
I talk to her as if like he's still here, like Daddy loves you, and I'll say, Daddy, owns restaurants, and Daddy did this, and he was a builder. He built restaurants and made beautiful things, and he loved Mom, and just yeah, and she is like she has a picture of him for when he passed away when we did Celebration of Life, and so. We have a picture that's laminated, so she like sleeps with that sometimes, and yeah, and she cuddles and Daddy.
So Leilani's open now.
Yeah,
and it's hit. Oh my gosh!
Yes,
like it's like the spot. Everybody wants to go there. Everyone wants to be there.
Yes.
How do you feel when you go in there, and when you see it, and Does this open up your vision for what's possible even more now?
Yeah. Well, I just live day by day, but in that moment, like, it's funny, they say, like, how can you be sad and happy
Yeah.
at the same time? You can, because I am. Like, I walk in there and I'm like so happy, but then there's like a lingering sadness because he's missing, and it's like I wish he was here. I had this dream. It was like the most vivid dream. It was so crazy. I woke up like thinking it was real. So I had a dream that he came back and he was like, babe, I was just recovering somewhere else. Like, I'm totally okay. I'm fine. I'm back.
Just
like,
kidding.
yeah, pretty much. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me, and so then I was like, okay, let me catch you up on what happened while you recovered somewhere else, and I was like, this is what happened, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, I remember saying that, like, this is the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then I shared everything, and then I told him about the restaurant, and I was like, I built a restaurant. And he was like, you did? And I was like, yeah, let's go. And I took him and I toured him in the restaurant. And then he's like, holy shit. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, well, since you're here, like, I'm done. Take over. He was like, and like, I was like, this is your thing. And he looked at me. He's like, no, babe, this is all you. And then like the ending to that dream was him saying, thank you for taking such good care of our daughter. And I was like, holy fuck.
Do you believe like that he's like, part of me is thinking like that's real. That
It
really
was
happened.
like, I mean, it felt real. It felt so real. It stayed in my heart.
Yeah.
Like, I believed it.
Like, thank you for taking such good care of your daughter.
Yeah.
Building a restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
moving forward, keeping going despite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he, like, the thing too, where he was like, this is all you. You got this.
And that it's bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at what the restaurant does. It gives so many people jobs.
Yeah.
Gives so many people purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Gives your daughter a legacy, and your other kids too.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows his legacy to still remain
Mm-hmm.
visible.
Yeah.
Of course, in your family, it'll always be there, but as a staple to the city, for sure.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of the Mora staff, like, they were like family to us, to me and Jason. And so when all of this happened, right, like, they were lost. They were hurting too, right? Yeah. And he was a pillar to their lives, especially the chefs. And so part of me building this was for them too, so they can have a home. And so, like, you can feel it, their love and their dedication. You can feel it, their love and dedication to that place, because it's not just a job to them. It's like them honoring Jason too.
I'm gonna get tissue for you.
Sorry.
No. Tears get ready, girl.
Whew. Yeah, I don't know. That's what people keep telling me, and I'm like, man, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just like day in and day out.
But it is.
Yeah.
It is special.
Yeah.
There's something special about you. There's something special about the life that you live. There's something special about the way that you keep moving forward. The way that you brought your 4 nieces in. Yeah. That's special.
Yeah.
Like, that's special.
It just seems like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, it's a thing. Like, that's,
yeah.
What was my other choice? Abandon 4 children? Like, yeah.
Now what? Like, where do you see yourself taking this?
Right now, I'm kind of just like embracing the moment for now, right? Like, we just opened 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of happiness and impact that I'm seeing in people's lives through the restaurant and even in the staff's lives is like so beautiful. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of just soaking that in for now. And
now, are you operating it too? Are you active, involved, hands-on management, or do you have a team?
So I have a team and they do a pretty damn good job. But like I'm in like the outskirts just whispering things like, what about this? Did you do this? And how's that going? And like,
Yeah.
and so but I am mostly a lot more involved in like the marketing and kind of directing, the message of the restaurant. And a lot of it is love, loyalty, and legacy, right? Like that's really what I want to hone in on is to create this space of love, for the community. A space where people like are loyal to each other, and a place where we leave a legacy.
gang.
Yes, I'm telling you, man. The gang life
This is a part of that that's stuck in you.
yes, like I can't help it.
And legacy.
And legacy, right? Like I want to make an impact. Families are gonna go there, and they're gonna create memories.
Yeah.
And beautiful memories, and we're part of all of that. That's the legacy that we're leaving, a place where people celebrate and feel good and enjoy great food and feel loved.
And feel loved.
Yes.
Yeah. And like they belong.
And they belong. Full circle.
Full
right?
circle.
Right? Giving back to the community what I was missing.
Yes. And love.
Yes.
Jason gave you love.
Oh, he gave me so much love. So much love.
So how does it's been what?
2.5
2.5
years.
years?
2.5 years. Yeah.
Are you like how are you doing now?
Whew. Like it's still, like I still miss him. It isn't as intense, but there are moments where I'm like driving or, I'm in my bedroom at night that it just hits me how much my heart longs for him. Like it's so painful every so often. Not as much,
Yeah.
but every now and then I get hit with a wave. And that's okay. Like I actually embrace it and I like it because it's like, oh, I remember this. This is my love for him, and I kind of like hold on to it for a little bit in a healthy way, and then I can let it go. But like the feeling of crying and the longingness feels good. Feels good because that was my love for him. Kind of struggling. I think like I started dating.
How is that going? Look at
Oh
your
my
smile.
It's interesting, because it's like in the back of my mind, I'm questioning like, am I capable of loving someone like that ever again? And is someone capable of loving me as greatly as Jason did?
That's going to be a tough act to follow.
Yes.
How do you follow that?
You can't.
No, you can't.
You can't.
You just need someone who's confident and assured, who won't compete.
Yes. And so there's this man, and he is that. And all I want to do is run away. Like I'm like, freaking out.
And I mean, but you're happy. You seem so happy. You're
Yeah.
glowing.
I think I'm a happy person in general, and I think my source of happiness is my kids. Right? Like they bring me so much love, but finding a good man is also good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's also good, and you deserve it. And you
Yeah.
deserve a partner in this stage of life and in your future. And because you have more to do, you have more to do. This is probably just the beginning.
I'm so tired.
But you have a team.
But I know, right? Like it's not in my bones. Like it's not in my bones to give up. I will keep going. And sometimes I hate that about myself. Like, can you just sit down? Can you just sit down and relax? But I'm like, no, because I do want to do so much more.
Anything else that you want to put out there? Like, this is what I see myself in the future.
So I think ultimately, right, like my goal, the most important role, and I say this to every aspect of interviews that I ever do, the most important role that I have is being a mother. That's if I could do that all day, every day, I would.
Yeah.
So my end goal is always to go back to that. And so, finding that life-work balance is really huge for me. And so when I'm doing my practice and I'm doing the restaurants, I prioritize my family as well. So at some point, I have in the back of my mind, and always an exit plan, right? Like at some point, it's handing it off to the next generation. Like I can't do this forever. It's somebody else is gonna need to take the torch.
Yeah,
and
a
somebody
succession
needs to,
strategy.
Yes. And so, like I started from the beginning. The chefs, I'm like, hey, like this is your restaurant. I'm not gonna do this all the time. This is yours. So this is your baby. You take care of it. This is, as much yours as it is mine. And at some point, I'm gonna fade back and spend more time with my family because ultimately that is what is important to me. Now, in between now and then, am I gonna build all kinds of other stuff? Maybe.
Maybe.
yeah. Like I want to grow my practice a little bit more, want to see where the Italian and the French Creole that's opening right next to us goes as well. And that whole concept of like 3 restaurants all in the same building to create a synergy,
Yeah.
I think is a great idea.
Interesting. Okay, so then you're still practicing mental health? Are you
Yeah.
still?
Mhm.
Wow.
I see about like 10 to 15 clients a week.
What is the crisis that you see most right now, or what is the issue? Is there
It like
like what do people need?
so it differs per, I think, like different ages and different genders, right? Like I think teenagers right now, they struggle a lot with like eating disorders and suicidal ideations. Like there's tons of that happening, and I could see why, right? Like the food in the school system is crap. Like nobody's motivated to eat that. My kids are like, it's the worst food ever. So then they go on for hours without eating, without any nutrition, and then then you come home and they're starving, or like maybe their body gets used to like not eating. And so then you start seeing that development of eating disorders, especially in like women, but men too, in high school. And then that leads into dysfunction in the brain. And then the suicidal ideation, it's like you're killing yourself from the inside. So I'm seeing a lot of that, eating disorders and suicidal ideations in high school. Part of it is bullying and like that, feeling judged. There's a lot of anxiety in that. But as far as adults go, in women, still the unhealthy, toxic relationships, not really having the strength to get out of an unhealthy relationship and going back and forth with that trauma, sexual trauma, physical trauma. It's just, I see a lot of that still in women.
Yeah. And then men?
Men,
They're like, none, I have no problems.
so like I think for men, it's mostly like anxiety, like they're anxious, right? Because there's a lot of pressure on them to provide, to be this, to be that. So I see more anxiety in men.
Interesting. So, okay. If you could give advice to, let's just say a friend, some doesn't even have to be a younger self. Like, what would you give? But let me make it more specific so it's helpful for you. Like your daughter, or your grown. Is your son grown now? And he's going through life.
He's 12.
12. Oh, he's
He's a baby. Yeah.
My baby is 12 too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a good, but it's a scary age.
Like it's
Because
like the
they're
verge of
junior
like
high.
he's still like a mama's boy.
They're so
but then,
innocent,
yes,
but
then
you're
they're like starting to,
I know. Yeah. So like, instead of advice, but what is your hope for them? What do you want them to grow up knowing from you?
To be kind to yourself, right? Be kind to yourself. I think that is the most important thing. Anybody can be kind to you, but it doesn't soak in as much if you're not kind to yourself.
We're
right?
so much
like
nicer to other people.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Than we are to ourselves.
Exactly. Be kind to yourself, because that is where your belief system comes from. So it doesn't matter if somebody's being mean to you if you're kind to yourself. I think the other thing too is there's this, how you say in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Right? There's just three entity that I always associate in every person, right? There's your mind, and there's your body, and then there's your soul, like yourself. So I always tell my clients, there's three entities within you, and you are in charge of managing your mind and your body. Do not let your mind and your body control you, because that's part of who you are, like yourself. So I always try to tell them, like, don't just believe whatever thoughts you're having, manage it. Like, you're supposed to manage your thoughts.
But what about your soul? How do you care for your soul?
Well,
manage your soul.
So the soul is the one that like kind of manages your.
So the soul is the manager of the body and the mind.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? And that soul is like your spirit, your essence.
Yeah, you.
Like yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
So if somebody's listening and they need to work on taking care of their soul, and they don't know where to start, what do you say to them? How do you help someone start that process of tending to the care of their soul?
Right. So like when I think of soul, I think of your essence, your essence. So if your essence is hurting, right? Like you're depressed or you're anxious. If you're tending to that, then you should be soothing it. So what does that look like to soothe? Yes, right? Like, don't steal my soothing technique. That's my soothing technique. Yes.
But that, I mean, it's a good physical example to someone of like, hey, this is what I do, and this is what you do.
Yes.
Right. And they can find their own. But tending to their soul.
Yes. So again, just try to figure out how to soothe your essence. Like if you're hurting, what's hurting you? You know, is it because you're in this relationship that doesn't make you feel good, right? And are you willing to face that? Like you have to talk to your mind and your body. Like if your body is like cringing and it doesn't feel safe, it manifests. Like because you'll turn away from somebody that you don't feel safe with, right? Or like your mind will be distrustful if somebody is someone that you can't trust.
Right.
So our mind and our body serves us. It warns us. So when it warns us and we don't pay attention, that's when our soul is hurting. And so I would say, you know, to tend to your soul, you need to really, really pay attention to your mind and your body. And you need to do what's best for both. Or like if you have thoughts of like, I hate myself. Like, why did I do that? Why couldn't I have done better? That's not good for your mind, right? So rephrase that.
Out loud.
If need be. I have a client that he's like, you know, he has road rage, and he's like, I talk to myself in the car. I hear your voice, you know, and I just say it out loud. Like, why are you so angry? You know, and he says it out loud, and he's like, when I say it out loud, and I hear your voice, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, why am I so angry? There's no need to be angry, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, it's just paying attention to your mind and your body. If your body is like feeling restless, go for a walk. If your mind is feeling restless, say it out loud.
Paying attention. Because a lot of times when you're in those modes, you're either focusing on like other people or the environment or the situation, but paying attention to yourself often gets neglected, I think.
Yes, 100%.
Man, this was so good. Is there any, what stone didn't we cover?
Right,
what leaf didn't we turn?
I feel like we got it all.
Is there anything?
How's
else?
your love life?
Well, I'm not actively dating, but I'm not opposed to it. I just got back on social apps.
Okay.
And girl, it is wild out there. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I was on a on-set production a few weeks ago, and one of my production peers, she's from LA, and she's married now. And she was telling me her strategy. She's like, but if you want a partner at some point in your life, you know, she goes, you're gonna have to tend to that. And to me, like, if I'm not meeting people in the wild, because, like, I go to work, I go to the grocery store, I go to the gym, I come home, and I do this for fun. Like,
Right.
like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And then I have kids.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'm a grandma. Yeah, so
Oh my God,
oldest,
you are like the prettiest grandma.
oh
my
stop.
God, that's so cool. And the youngest? What?
It's like, well, I was young. I was 18 when I got pregnant, 19 when I had him. My mom was 17 when she got pregnant, 18 when she had me, and he was 19 and then 20. And I was like, look, that's a progress. Like, girl,
We're getting older and older.
we're aging up, baby.
That's so funny.
But so he and his fiance just, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Oh, man, having a great. But do I tell people? Like, I swear people will run.
Right.
And my coworker, she's like, no, you lead with that. That will weed everybody out. And I'm like, oh man,
Yeah, it's a complicated thing, like trying to figure out what is the right thing to share, right? Like,
yeah. And then just even compatibility, like who shares actual similar interests, and that's a little harder, I think. And I'm involved in the community, but I just don't put myself out there too much yet. I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen, but just right now I'm just chilling.
Yeah. This guy that I'm dating, the first thing that I told
How
him.
did you guys meet? Okay, but tell me, finish your story.
The first thing I told him, like, I have 7 kids.
Oh, so you led
just
with that.
Just
That's
so
a
you
good
know, I have 7
strategy.
kids. Like I'm not here to play around.
What did he say?
Do you want to run now?
Yeah, he's still here.
He's still around, and he's like totally pouring in. And like I guess it's maybe they're right. Maybe he should help me out in my day.
Wait, so how did you guys meet?
At a party.
At
a party,
okay.
and it was it's just, I feel like, again, the universe. I trust in the universe and universal thoughts and collectiveness. I feel like we're all connected in some way. And if, like, I kind of sometimes ask the universe, like, silently inside, like, through my soul, and I go, this is what I want. Like, I'm looking for this. And, like, I feel like it's being sent out there, and the universe comes back and gives it back to me, I know it's a weird thing, but...
What universe? This is what I want.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like...
Go with God.
It's like in my heart, in my soul, like I'm speaking through my heart. Like, this is what I want.
I love
that.
What else do you speak through your heart?
So funny enough, like, I did a vision board.
I
at
love
the
vision
beginning
board.
of the year, or maybe it was last year. I can't. It must have been this year. A vision board. Every single thing in that vision board is like coming to life.
So that's incredible.
Yeah. So I had put on there like a picture of like a house, because my goal was I want to purchase a house. And I was like, I don't know how that's going to happen, just like, but I'm going to put it out there, right? And then, like, with the restaurant being built, I'm like, this is the goal, projected numbers that I want to do. And I doubled it from what we projected. And I was like, I don't know how that's going to happen, but hey,
And now you have that big old house.
Yeah, I have the house. I'm meeting the numbers, and, like, the relationship part, too. I'm like, I want to build a life with somebody, like, send me somebody. Like, I want my relationship. Yeah.
So life's working out for you.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because we don't know each other. I feel like I know you.
Yeah, right?
But we don't.
Yes.
I just messaged her yesterday. And I've been following you, though, for a good year and a half. Or actually, 3 years now.
Yeah.
But it feels like it was just yesterday. And we both used to go to title boxing. Shout out to title boxing.
Yay!
But I've been one of those people. Remember when you were saying, like, you didn't feel alone during that time?
Yeah.
I didn't know you, and I didn't reach out personally because you don't know me.
Right.
But I felt like there was so much love I had in my heart for you, and I just don't know how for you to receive it other than just from a distance.
Yeah.
And so to hear you and to see your story, to see how your life is unfolding, see I would say the beautiful, magical things that you're creating, the way that you're using your gang pass. And
jumping out of high school.
the way that you're using all of it
Yeah.
is incredible.
Mm.
And I hope that whoever's listening or watching sees and gets something from it too, because I know I have.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think like my biggest message is be kind to yourself, believe in yourself, and just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And look what can happen.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that musical Hamilton?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So one of my favorite parts of Hamilton is the end,
Mm.
in which he passes. This is after his son.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But
Well,
people know
yeah.
it's part of history.
Yeah, it's been a long
Right.
time release, so I think you're safe.
But when his wife talks about building an orphanage, and she's like, and she's singing the song, the end song.
Mhm.
She's like, "See what I've done." It's almost like the dream
Yes.
that you had.
Yes.
That's when you were telling me the dream. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you're telling Jay, "See what I built. See
Mhm.
what I've done.
Yeah.
With your name, your legacy, and
Mhm.
what you left me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're doing."
Yeah. Use your pain to build.
Mm.
Use your pain to build instead of destroy. Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're gonna end, people. Love it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was kind of, emotional, but what a pleasure to be able to just genuinely and authentically have a conversation.
Pleasure, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I'm
Therapeutic.
so grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Tune in for the next episode.
That was a lot.
Oh my God.
Oh no!
No!
Oh my god!
No!
Oh god!
No!
It didn't do anything?
It did do. It's
Oh,
I'll look at it. I'll figure it out.
yeah.
Oh my God. Don't tell me this is gonna happen. No! I have to call you back for another one.
That's okay. It happens. We'll be better.
Cry.
I hope you got the crying because I don't think I can do that again.